Earlier this week, I was talking to a VIP Mastermind member, and yes, the most successful mentees I have either came from the mastermind or through one on one coaching, which I don't do anymore. And it was interesting. He said to me, "So you met Rush Limbaugh?" And many of you may not know who he was. He's no longer alive, but he was a conservative radio talk show host. And I said, "No, I didn't meet Rush Limbaugh. What are you talking about?" And I had forgotten about this. But back in 2001, which doesn't sound too long ago until I remember that's 23 years ago. Yikes. I was working at my desk. The radio was on in the background. Rush Limbaugh was on his 12 to 3 radio show. And he was talking about failure. Actually, he was talking about success and troubles and trials that people go through. And I reminded me of a piece that Napoleon Hill said about failure. And so at 12:56, I ended up writing him an email, ended up telling him what piece of Napoleon Hill I thought was really helpful in that. And at 1:15, he ended up taking that email, reading it, and then added a lot of comments on failure and how these tremendous successes have also been tremendous failures. It was interesting that within 20 minutes he read that email on the air. Must not have gotten a lot of emails, although he was tremendously successful. So I want to include that clip for you here, let you listen to it. I got feedback on it from some of the people in the mastermind that I shared it with that said it was really insightful for them. But remember, not everything is going to work out. You will have trials, you will have tribulations, you will have setbacks, but that is part of the process, and most, if not all, successful people have gone through that. Certainly, I have had my share of those as well. Board of directors, mentors, all those people help you get through those times as well as sticking with it. But I want to play that for you now, and then I'll have a couple comments at the end.
Along these lines, this email comes from Bruce Whipple. Mr. Limbaugh, if you've read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, you already know who he was. But if not, and of course I do, but some of you may not, Andrew Carnegie asked Napoleon Hill if he would interview approximately 500 people in the early 1900s, the most successful people, and distill those interviews into a philosophy of success. He spoke with Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Luther Burbank, and many more. His formula for success was clear and didn't contain any magic shortcuts, the results of his interviews. The formula started with a burning desire, which was so intense that it would carry you through the many adversities along the way. He also said that action behind that burning desire was essential. Just wishing alone didn't get anything done. Sitting around hoping for it, sitting around wishing for it, meant nothing. That action accompanying the desire was the key. Now, one of Napoleon Hill's most profound observations in his book, Law of Success, was this: I'm convinced that failure is nature's plan through which she hurdle jumps men of destiny and prepares them to do their work. Failure is nature's great crucible in which she burns the dross from the human heart and so purifies the metal of the man that it can stand the test of hard usage. We would cease to fear or to run away from trying experiences if we observe from the biographies of men of destiny that nearly every one of them was sorely tried and run through the mill of merciless experience before he arrived. That's a flowery way of saying that most of the, if not all, of the tremendously successful people in this country have also been spectacular failures, from which they were toughened, from which they learned, and from which they were, or by which they were further prepared. says, "This leads me to wonder if the hand of fate does not test the metal of which we are made in various and sundry ways before placing great responsibilities upon our shoulders." So I think that the lesson here, and remember now, it is I wouldn't call it it's a approach, a passion of mine, the things that, and I don't know that it would be if I hadn't had the chance to meet some of these people. I'd probably be laboring under whatever misconceptions everybody has. But having met people who I consider to be among, if not the best at what they do, you can't help but notice certain common characteristics about them. And as Napoleon Hill here discovered, burning desire or passion, that's clearly number one. No question about it. But the thing that I had not associated with it, too, that Napoleon Hill does is failure. And how that toughens you, prepares you even more. And how, in some cases, there's no tolerance for it on the part of those observing the person in question. But it's almost always present in the life of somebody who's ultimately and eminently successful. And the reason why this is important to me is because I've always believed that the average person is capable of far more than he or she thinks he or she is capable of. There's something else in common about successful people. They've all been told that what they want to do won't work. There is negativity around everybody at all times. And for some strange human characteristic-oriented reason, people are prone to believe negativity. It takes work to be positive. It takes a supreme effort to be positive. You look at Norman Vincent Peale and all these other people who have written books on the power of positive thinking. They themselves get quite wealthy because it's not a natural state. It's something that you have to talk yourself into. You have to psych yourself up for. The natural tendency is doom and gloom. The natural tendency is pessimism. Amongst, not all people, but among many. And you have to fight that. And the idea that being upbeat and positive about things is just part and parcel of achievement as well. And I've seen, I've mentioned this before, how many of you think back now to who was your best teacher, high school, college, or whatever? And at the time, you liked that teacher. You may have hated him, in fact, at the time. Or you might have thought they were the best teacher because you enjoyed them the most. You laughed or had the most fun. But now, as you look back on it, the best teachers are the ones that got more out of you than you thought you had. The best teachers or the most inspirational people in your life, they may not have been teachers. Whoever they were, could have been your mom and dad or a close friend, but whoever, it was a person or people that led you to realize you were better than you thought you were. You had more ability than you thought you had. Once you learn that, this is what I hate about affirmative action, it's what I hate about multiculturalism, it's what I hate about liberalism and the politics of group. Once you learn that you're better than you think you are, no matter how good you think, then it's Katie bar the door. Once you get that kind of confidence. And since I think a nation is nothing more than the result of the sum total of its people, not its government. I mean, America is great because of its people using God-given freedom to seek that which is the best in them, to seek that which is the most pleasing, whatever it is, the quest to be as good as you can be, the best you can be in this rich atmosphere of freedom. There's just no holding us back as a nation. But the more people who are held back because they don't think that they have what it takes, because that's what they've been told, either by their parents or by their friends or by teachers or by their government or whatever, that's what troubles me. That I've just, from my own personal experiences, and not my own, my personal experiences of meeting and seeing and watching, observing other people, I know that the vast majority of people in this country are capable of so much more than even they think. In many ways, I'm not talking, maybe you're not going to be any better at doing math problems than you are now, but there's something that you are born to excel at. There's something that you are bound to be as good as anybody else, or better than you think you can be, which is, as I say, in and of itself is the single greatest motivator there is. But therein lies the rub. You got to find what it is that you like. You got to find your passion. I was lucky, found mine when I was 8 or 9. And some people, 25 or 30, still haven't. And once you find it, though, that moment when you learn that you're even better than you think you are is the day your ship comes in and you're not at the airport. You're at the dock. You're ready to meet it. And so studying successful people and admitting the truth about them is not only therapeutic, but is beneficial to everybody, the nation as well as a whole.
So I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something from it. I hope you learned that you're not alone, that most successes, if not all successes, have been failures as well. Certainly, in my journey, I have had plenty of setbacks, plenty of things that didn't work out. The key to getting through those is, 1, maintaining a positive attitude about them. 2, having people around you that have been through these things before. That's the reason you have a board of director and hopefully mentors. And then sticking with it, trying new things, not being the fly that bumps his head against the window over and over until he dies on the windowsill. If you're not having success, figure out why you're not having success. But failure is a tremendous teacher, and everyone who's successful goes through that process. So, a lot of people have asked me about the Sales Summit. The Sales Summit was something that my marketing director and I put together. Why? Because we recognized how poor the listening skills and sales skills were in the VIP Mastermind 2-day events that we do. Not unusual. Many of these people have never sold before. With my marketing director, and between he and I, we have 80 plus years of experience in sales in some way or another. So that said, we should be able to and did teach some things that would help these people. I got comments back. I thought I knew sales, but boy, was I wrong. Thank you. Comments like it was a master class, which it was, really. And so we put those down. My marketing director actually did the work, put those down to recordings, 7 hours and 10 minutes. We will be releasing that as a course. There'll be role plays in there, lots of lessons, handling objectives, techniques that work and don't work, etc., etc. So if you are interested in learning more about those recordings, just send me an email, bruce@brucewhipple.com, and I will send you the information on when they'll be released and what the cost will be, etc. Important to know the steps, important to know what to do. Go over to brucewhipple.com. There's plenty of information there. There's also a free course on conversation starters. I'd encourage you to get that. That will also put you on my email list, where I give 3 emails a week with actionable items. And if you want to go there directly to get those conversation starters, just go to brucewhipple.com/get class. But in closing, I just want to tell you, if you are experiencing setbacks, troubles, that's good. It means you're doing something, may not be working as well as you'd like, but you're doing something. And you will learn from those failures if you spend the time to surround yourself with people who can help, find out ways to change what you're doing that's wrong to more successful, and there's plenty of examples of that. So action is the key, knowing what to do and then taking action, and surrounding yourself with people who can augment the skill sets that you don't have and teach you from your failures, critically important.